We're going to multiply decimals, and we're going to use a unit form to understand where to place our decimal in our final product. The numbers we're going to multiply together are 3 and 42 hundredths times 2 and 3 tenths. And we're going to rewrite this or rewrite it using unit form. So let's go ahead and I'll rewrite 3 and 42 hundredths as 342 hundredths times 2 and 3 tenths is 23 tenths. Now I'm going to reorder my problem, and I'm going to put my numbers together, and so I can reorder this as 342, because this is really 342 times hundredths times 23 times hundredths. So I'll reorder it as 342 times 23 times, sorry, get the same color, hundredths times tenths. And now I'll go ahead and I'll multiply together our numbers. So first let's go ahead and we'll start with 342 times 23, and I'll rewrite that vertically. It's so much easier to multiply. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 4 is 12. Regroup the 1. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 more is 10. Let's go to the 2. 2 times 2 is 4. It's actually not a 2, it's really a 20. So that's why we get a 0 in the ones place. 2 times 4 is 8, and 2 times 3 is 6. Add my numbers together. 6 plus 0 is 6. 2 plus 4 is 6, 0 plus 8 is 8, and 1 plus 6 is 7. So 342 times 23 is 7,866. Now we need to multiply together our units, and we can multiply units together. When you're adding units, you have to add like units or subtract like units in subtraction. But in multiplication, you can actually multiply the units together. So we have hundredths times tenths, and I'm going to actually write those as numbers. 100th times 1/10, and so it's easier to see that hundredths times tenths is thousands. So our problem now is really 7,866 times thousands, or 7,866 thousandths. So when we write our final product, here let's be consistent with our colors, 7,866 thousandths. But we want to understand, I put that the decimal, I put it where, so my numbers would be in the thousands place. Let's look at our hundredths. Go up here to our hundredths, and when we have hundredths, how many decimal places do we have? How many places do we have to the right of the decimal? And we have 2. When we look at tenths, we have 1 place to the right of the decimal. So when we have thousands, there are 3 places to the right of the decimal, and in our final product, we have 3 places to the right of the decimal. Let's go ahead now back to our original problem with the decimals present. But when I write, even when I write a decimal problem when I'm going to multiply it, I always like to write it vertically. But when I'm writing it vertically, I am not going to line up the decimals as I would do in addition or subtraction. I'm going to write it almost as if I don't have decimals in there, even though I do. So now we have 3 and 42 hundredths times 2 and 3 tenths, and we already know when we actually multiply that out, we had 7,866. But we just showed that when we were working with the unit form, that we have different decimal places here. So in 3 and 42 hundredths, we had 2 decimal places, and 2 and 3 tenths, we had 1 decimal place. So our final product needs to have 3 decimal places, and that's exactly what put in our decimal. Our final product does have 3 decimal places, and so when we multiply together 3 and 42 hundredths times 2 and 3 tenths, our final product is 7 and 866 thousandths.